Welcome back, Fragrance Fiend here today with Mancera's 2017 release Red Tobacco, a sweet, spicy, woody oriental scent that is bound to turn heads. It's one of Mancera's best-selling fragrances and is known universally for its insane performance. But there have been rumours that it's been reformulated, so before I bought Red Tobacco, the salesperson went to spray some on me. They missed half my wrist, so I thought, let's see how it does anyway. The tiny bit that actually landed on me was radiating off my skin all afternoon and night, so then I decided to order a bottle online. I went in for a spray and it was dead. It was nothing like the first time wearing it, and this is a scent you can't really go noseblind to. I'd wear it day after day, not being able to smell it at all after a few hours. It was fairly close to the first time smelling it, but there was no smokiness and there was no performance. So I gave up hope, I put it on the shelf, and I came back 3 months later to see if anything had changed. And to my surprise, it became the fragrance I remembered the very first time smelling it. I thought I got a reformulation. So yeah, the cap's kind of faulty. So it seemed I did have an original batch, but it took some time to mature. It now comes with a metal cap, which is a good upgrade because this does feel pretty cheap and flimsy. So if you bought one that isn't quite hitting the same, or you think it's reformulated, give it some time, go back to it, and see what you think then. So let's go to the note breakdown. In the top you have saffron, cinnamon, incense, nutmeg, white peach, green apple, and oud, while in the heart you only have patchouli and jasmine. Lastly, in the base you have tobacco, amber, woody notes, vetiver, vanilla, and musk. So it's a pretty extreme note breakdown. Realistically, throughout the whole transition of the fragrance, I only really pick up the saffron, incense, oud, patchouli, tobacco, and some woody notes. Right from the opening, I get that tobacco, incense, and a bit of saffron as well. A lot of people will find the top quite challenging to pull off, but once it starts to dry down in an hour's time, it becomes a lot more wearable. That opening, however, is quite medicinal. I'd even recommend spraying it on your clothing an hour before you go out. As it starts to dry down, the spiciness from the nutmeg and cinnamon begin to wear off a bit. That's when the patchouli and oud kick in, very earthy but not animalic. After that you begin to pick up a bit of a cherry-like sweetness, even though it's not an official note. The rest is kind of vacant, especially the peach, jasmine, even the vanilla. Then after it loses its projection, it gets a tiny bit more woodier as it becomes a skin scent, as well with a bit of musk. This is one fragrance you do not want to wear in summer, purely a winter scent. Even then it can get pretty cloying as it is very intense. I've noticed a lot more people starting to care more about being smelt than the actual quality of the fragrance, and this is one you don't want to blind buy just to be smelt. If anything, I recommend you actually try this fragrance at least 4 or 5 times before you buy it. I've had my bottle for about a year and I've almost used 1/3. The 120ml is absolute overkill. I could last an entire winter on just 10ml. A lot of influencers seem to hype this one up, which is great. However, it's not really for your rookie wearer going from Dior Sauvage or something like that straight into Red Tobacco. It's a bit of a transitional process to get used to this one. If you've smelt Red Tobacco once, it's unforgettable. Anywhere you smell it again, you'll immediately know what it is, which would make for a great signature scent if it wasn't so common now. Don't get me wrong, I think it's an amazing scent, but I believe it's been overhyped, and I think it's time for people to move on. Mancera are doing so many more interesting things. So to the performance, there's really not much to be said. It lasts 14 plus hours on my skin and multiple days on my clothing. You will not have any trouble leaving a trail or filling a room. The performance is clearly a 10 out of 10. I give the scent a 7 out of 10, and the versatility is about a 5 out of 10. You wouldn't wear it in summer or to the office or any job for that matter, so picking the right occasion for this is a little more challenging. For me, I mostly wear it for my own pleasure. I once did 3 sprays and somebody said who doused themselves in antiseptic. Not that I'm a fan of flankers, but I think it would be pretty interesting to see what they did if they toned it back a tiny bit and made it a little more versatile. Red Tobacco light. That's really the last thing anybody asks for when they want a flanker, to make it weaker, but this one, keep the original for the long-time wearers and maybe something different for newcomers. Overall, I do think it's an incredible fragrance and a great contribution to the perfume world, so give it a try, see if you like it, and I'll see you next time.